仅在于是国内首创，更是我们开启了一个让机器人走进大众、走进真实场景的公开窗口。那么我们也希望这次新型的赛事形式呢，打造一个跨界交流的平台，激发技术创新的热情。
IT giant Microsoft says it is set to lay off around 4% of its global workforce. That's the tech giant's biggest round of job cuts since 2023. The latest round of layoffs follows another round of layoffs back in May, where about 6,000 people were let go. Most of these new cuts are expected to affect several departments, with a global workforce of around 228,000 employees as of June 2024. Microsoft has a history of conducting internal restructuring at the end of its fiscal year in June. A 4% cut in the workforce points to over 9,000 people being turned out, though the company has not put out an exact figure. The tech giant, which turned 50 this year, is reported to be shifting focus especially towards artificial intelligence. As AI tools become more powerful, Microsoft is reorganizing, using automation in areas that used to rely more on people. So while jobs are being cut in some areas, the company is also investing heavily in AI, cloud services and new tech roles. Now, according to data from layoffs, over 61,000 tech workers have lost their jobs across more than 130 companies in 2025. Layoffs started picking up in 2022 and really ramped up through 2023. The World Economic Forum's latest Future of Jobs report shows just how much AI is changing the workforce. It says that 41% of companies plan to reduce their staff because of AI and automation. Experts predict AI could replace 92 million jobs by the year 2030.
A Texas man is charged with murder for slipping his girlfriend the abortion pill mifepristone, which led to a miscarriage. It's the first abortion-related murder case in the state, and it's bringing renewed attention to the ongoing national debate over whether a fetus should be legally defined as a person. According to an affidavit filed by the Texas Rangers, in September 2024, 39-year-old Justin Bonta was informed by his then-girlfriend that she was pregnant. She wanted to keep the baby, but he didn't, offering to cover costs for an abortion. The next month, the two met at a coffee shop where Bonta is accused of putting a mifepristone abortion pill in his then-girlfriend's coffee and cookies. The next day, the woman reported she miscarried. The Texas Rangers charged Bonta with capital murder. That charge indicates the state agency is defining the fetus as human. In similar cases, men have been charged with lesser crimes for giving abortion pills to women, like assault of a pregnant woman. The difference in Bonta's case is the woman isn't being treated as the victim, but rather the fetus. This case is sparking a renewed debate since Roe v. Wade was overturned. Under Roe, it was defined and understood that an embryo did not have the same rights as a human. But with it overturned, legal questions over whether a fetus has constitutional rights are unclear. The Texas Tribune spoke with a law professor who said this about the case: it has implications for all kinds of fertility medicine, and it has potential implications for criminal and immigration law. If you detain a pregnant woman, are you illegally detaining the fetus who did not commit a crime? It's about trying to establish fetal personhood. A Texas pro-life organization released this statement, saying Bonta's case highlights the continued threat of abortion pills in Texas. Abortion pills not only end the lives of unborn children, but also place women at serious risk. Justin Bonta should not be the cautionary tale that lawmakers ignore. His case highlights the urgent need for stronger safeguards to prevent abortion pills from falling into the wrong hands. If Bonta is found guilty, it may not lead to binding interpretations of a fetus having human rights due to the nature of the case. However, it could become legally binding if Bonta is convicted by a jury and then he appeals, and if that appellate court rules he can be convicted of murder of a fetus, then the interpretation could become legally binding. The death penalty is an option on the table in Bonta's case. Thanks for watching our
Aşağı bas aşağı.
A terrifying mid-air drama unfolded aboard a Japan Airlines Boeing 737, plunging passengers into a nightmare of plummeting altitude and deploying oxygen masks. This harrowing incident, where the aircraft dropped a staggering 26,000 feet in just 10 minutes, has sent a fresh wave of shock through the aviation world and beyond.
In a terrifying mid-air scare that could have ended in disaster, a Japan Airlines flight from Shanghai to Tokyo nosedived nearly 26,000 feet after sudden cabin pressurization failure, prompting an emergency landing in Osaka. What began as a calm, uneventful journey aboard flight JL8696 swiftly spiraled into sheer horror. Without warning, alarms blared inside the cockpit as the Boeing 737 detected an abnormality in the pressurization system. This is the moment when panic sets in. Oxygen masks dropped from the ceiling. Some scribbled final messages, while one reportedly began drafting a will mid-air. The fear is the kind that haunts long after touchdown. The aircraft began a rapid, stomach-lurching descent, shedding nearly 26,000 feet in under 10 minutes, stabilizing just below 10,500 feet, from above 36,000 feet to 10,500 feet in just 10 minutes. To grasp the scale of this terrifying plunge, consider this. The plane dropped a vertical distance equivalent to nearly the entire height of Mount Everest, the world's tallest peak. The Japanese Transport Ministry has launched a full-scale investigation into the technical fault. While no injuries have been reported, the psychological toll is undeniable. The flight operated under a code share between Japan Airlines and its low-cost unit, Spring Airlines Japan. It took off from Shanghai but was forced to abandon its Tokyo route and rerouted to Kansai International Airport in Osaka, where it landed safely. This latest scare intensifies growing concern over Boeing, dogged by a string of fatal crashes and mechanical issues globally. Aviation safety is yet again under a harsh spotlight. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
Officials in the disaster alert headquarters that was set up in Toshima Village in Kagoshima Prefecture were busy on July 1st. The area has been rattled by more than 880 earthquakes in 11 days. Earthquakes with a seismic intensity of lower 5 on the scale, ranging from 0 to 7, were observed on June 30th and July 2nd.
ゴンというのがですね、ちょっと緊張する数字になっております。次の準備をしなくちゃいけないかなとは思っております。被害が出た場合はどうするのかと、応援体制の部分等もですね、考えていなくちゃいけないと。
A quake with a seismic intensity of 4 was observed on July 1st as well.
気象庁が公開している全国の地震情報を見てみますと、ずらっとトカラ列島近海の文字が並んでいます。
According to the Japan Meteorological Agency, 755 earthquakes of intensity 1 or higher have occurred between June 21st and July 1st.
おとといまでの地震の発生場所を示した地図です。トカラ列島近海に集中して地震が起きていることがわかります。
The epicenters are concentrated in the southwest of Akusekijima Island. On June 30th, an earthquake measuring lower 5 on the seismic intensity scale was observed on the island.
縦揺れがドーンと突き上げて、そして横揺れ、そしてあとはこう、回転っていうか、振り回されるような感じ。
The last time the island observed an earthquake of intensity 5 or higher was December 9th, 2021. A landslide occurred, forcing residents to evacuate the island.
不安な気持ちで日々過ごしてますよ。もう睡眠不足といつ起こるかというそっちの心配と。
The number of reservations at the guest house has also been affected.
お客さんは
21日のですね、地震が始まってからお客さん、電話が予約があるんですけど、もうこういう状況ですので、断っています。
There has been more impact on tourism. The Toshima Village office decided to cancel the island tour that was scheduled to begin on July 4th. Officials said they will later make a decision on the tour scheduled from August 1st, depending on seismic activities. An expert said that the duration of this seismic activity is longer than usual.
これまでに比べると、ちょっとこの活発な期間が長いというようなことを感じています。最近の例見ると、だいたい1週間ぐらいでだいたい収まるというような感じなんですが、今回はそれ以上続いてますんで、当面の間続くんだろうと思った方がいいですね。昨日のような5弱、あるいはもう一つ上の5強の揺れを伴うような地震があってもおかしくない。
The Japan Meteorological Agency has urged people to stay cautious against earthquakes for the time being.
Canada was a country once seen as the ultimate destination for Indians to move abroad. Now hundreds of immigrants seem to be standing in long queues for just 5 jobs.
तो गाइज यही रियलिटी है कनाडा की. अगर तुम इस चीज़ के लिए प्रिपेयर्ड हो तो ही इंडिया से यहाँ पर आओ, अदरवाइज इंडिया ही बढ़िया है.
This is a video shot by an Indian woman living in Canada, which has now gone viral, in which she shows the long queue outside a job fair venue in Toronto. In fact, she says this whole queue is for an intern level job and not even a high profile position.
गाइस, हमारे जितने भी इंडियन रिश्तेदारों को लगता है ना कि कनाडा में तो बहुत जॉब्स हैं, बहुत पैसे हैं और हम बस उन्हें झूठ बोलते रहते हैं. हम उन्हें नहीं चाहते कि वो अमीर बन जाए, हम खुद अमीर बनना चाहते हैं. बस उनको ये वीडियो दिखा देना. ये देखो, यहाँ पे जॉब फेयर लगा हुआ है और अभी मैं तुम्हें लाइन दिखाती हूँ कितनी लंबी लगी हुई है. मतलब चलते रहो चलते रहो चलते रहो, बहुत दूर तक, मतलब जहाँ तक तुम देख पा रहे हो ना वहाँ तक लोग लाइन में खड़े हुए हैं. और ये बहुत ही एक छोटी सी इंटर्न लेवल की जॉब है. ऐसा नहीं कि तुम गूगल या एप्पल में कोई बहुत बड़े इंजीनियर बन रहे हो, बिल्कुल बहुत नॉर्मल सी जॉब है. और उसके लिए लाइन में देखो कितने लोग खड़े हुए हैं. तो गाइस, यही रियलिटी है कनाडा की. अगर तुम इस चीज़ के लिए प्रिपेयर्ड हो तो ही इंडिया से यहाँ पर आओ, अदरवाइज़ इंडिया ही बढ़िया है. देखो तुम अभी चलते रहो चलते रहो चलते रहो, लाइन देखो तुम कितनी लंबी है. दूर दूर तक तुम लोगों को बस खड़े हुए देखोगे एक छोटी सी जॉब के लिए. और ये हायर सिर्फ 5-6 लोगों को करना है इन लोगों ने. और पर लाइन में देखो तुम कितने लोग खड़े हुए हैं. और ये सुबह से खड़े हुए हैं ये लोग. आधे देखो यहाँ पे बैठ गए हैं. ऐसा नहीं कि खाली लाइन में खड़े हुए हैं, इधर साइड में बैठे भी हुए हैं लोग. तो मतलब इतने ज़्यादा लोग सिर्फ एक जॉब के लिए खड़े हुए हैं.
This video has sparked a big debate on social media, with thousands of comments pouring in from struggling immigrants and international students living in Canada. Many of them are echoing the same sentiment of how the job markets are oversaturated, hiring is slow, and survival isn't as glossy as immigration brochures would suggest. This reality check comes at a time when Canada's immigration numbers are at an all-time high, but so are the job losses, economic pressures, and inflation. In recent months, major Canadian cities have seen a surge of highly educated immigrants taking up jobs like food delivery, warehouse work, or gig-based cleaning simply to stay afloat. And it's not just Toronto. Job seekers report the same crisis in other parts of Canada. Too many qualified candidates, but too few opportunities. On paper, Canada offers permanent residency, great healthcare, education, and quality of life. But today, the promise of opportunity is colliding with the pressure of reality. You see, Canadian officials have acknowledged rising pressures in the job market in the past. However, the immigration system remains crucial for future growth. Between 2020 and 2024, India has been the single largest source of immigrants to Canada. During this period, roughly 5.5 lakh Indians become permanent residents in Canada. Due to mounting pressure, Canada had taken recent significant steps to curtail immigration, including tightening visa rules and reducing intake targets, to ease the cost of living and housing in Canadian cities, and to ease the pressure on the job market. For more stories like this, stay tuned to Mint.
5 countries along NATO's eastern flank are worried Russia won't stop its continental conquest in Ukraine, so they're withdrawing from an international treaty that banned anti-personnel landmines. Finland, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, and Poland all say they're leaving the Ottawa Convention of 1997. Ukraine just announced it's also considering leaving the treaty. The Ottawa Convention is an international agreement originally spearheaded by Britain's Princess Diana and then Prime Minister Tony Blair, which banned the production, storage, and deployment of anti-personnel landmines. But now, 5 of the 6 countries comprising NATO's eastern flank all told the United Nations the realities of the modern world mean they need to chart a new path forward, a path which may require establishing what Britain's Telegraph is calling a new Iron Curtain, stretching 2,150 miles long.
Military planners are reportedly already working out where exactly along the border should those mines be placed if Russia and its satellite state Belarus start massing troops along their sides of the border. Now, the areas along NATO's eastern flank are mostly heavy forest and lakeland areas. They're pretty sparsely populated. The only NATO country that shares a border with Russia and is not planning to mine it is Norway, right up here on the northern part of the eastern flank. Norway's border kind of curves around Finland just a little bit. From a strategic standpoint, the easiest place for Russia to send tanks and troops into NATO territory would be in southern Lithuania. Right here, it's an area or a stretch known as the Suwalki Gap, right here in southern Lithuania. It's essentially a land bridge connecting the Russian exclave of Kaliningrad with Belarus. Belarus, of course, governed by Putin puppet Alexander Lukashenko. The Suwalki Gap has been dubbed one of the most dangerous places on Earth because it's so prone to attack. And it really doesn't take a military genius to see if Russia were to send its forces into this area, it could offer some obvious strategic advantages, like splitting NATO's eastern flank into two and securing more access to the Baltic Sea, which is why if Russia starts massing troops in Belarus, you can expect to see a whole lot more landmines in this area as well. It's also worth noting here that all of the announcements about landmines actually came out before the recent NATO summit in The Hague, where NATO members announced they would be upping their percentage of GDP spent on national defense to a new threshold of 5%.
The countries have to find the money. It's not easy. These are political decisions. I totally recognize that. But at the same time, there is absolute conviction with my colleagues at the table that given the threat from the Russians, given the international security situation, there is no alternative. We've got to do this.
In the days since the NATO summit, Russia launched some of its largest drone and missile attacks of the war on Ukrainian cities, while the U.S. pressed pause on some weapon shipments to Ukraine. As of publication, it wasn't entirely clear when or if those weapon shipments would continue. What is clear, European countries are heeding the Trump administration's calls for them to carry more of the load for their own defense, even if it means relying on tactics they once considered worth banning.
Good morning. We're going out to Alligator Alcatraz. It's an East Coast version, and it should be very exciting, very good. You know, the snakes are fast, but alligators are, we're going to teach them how to run away from an alligator, okay? If they escape prison, how to run away. Don't run in a straight line. Run like this. And you know what? Your chances go up about 1%. Okay? Not a good thing.
Donald Trump visited a new immigration detention center in the Everglades Tuesday, nicknamed Alligator Alcatraz, due to its remote alligator-filled location. He said the center would focus on deporting the most dangerous immigrants first.
Very soon, this facility will house some of the most menacing migrants, some of the most vicious people on the planet. We're surrounded by miles of treacherous swampland, and the only way out is really deportation.
The facility is located in a large remote area of swampland filled with mosquitoes, pythons, and alligators in Miami-Dade County, part of Florida's Everglades, and has a 2-mile-long runway to fly migrants out of the country. It can hold 3,000 people and can expand to 5,000 in the future, making it the largest immigration detention center in the country. Migrants brought to the facility will be confined in dormitories surrounded by fencing and barbed wire. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis said he used emergency powers to authorize and begin construction. He said the facility was built in just 8 days. The annual operating cost is projected to be $450 million, and the federal government will cover all expenses. DeSantis announced National Guard members will act as immigration judges to give migrants court hearings within 48 hours.
Our goal here is to process them and be able to effectuate their return to their home country. This is the opposite of what they were doing in New York by just putting them up in a hotel and then just letting them stay there indefinitely. No, we want to be able to send back.
Not everyone is on board with the new facility. A group of about 100 people gathered to protest the new migrant detention center in Florida while President Trump was visiting, just one day before the facility is set to open.
Concentration camps are wrong. It's wrong to imprison people without giving them due process. And it's in the Fifth Amendment, it's in the 14th Amendment, it's a right that every person on the planet has, along with the freedom of speech. I'm concerned we may lose our freedom of speech soon, and so I'm here using mine to stand up against the president, because that's what America is about. Furthermore, I'm using my free speech to protect the due process of people who can't protect themselves right now.
Alligator Alcatraz's harsh location is meant to discourage undocumented immigrants from staying in or entering the U.S. DHS Secretary Kristi Noem warned undocumented immigrants to leave the country on their own or risk being detained at Alligator Alcatraz. According to Noem, many countries are welcoming back their citizens.
And their home countries are welcoming them. They're setting up loans for houses. They've got food assistance. They're helping to facilitate welcoming them home. I just got home from Panama, Costa Rica, Guatemala, Honduras, and they're all excited about getting their individuals back home from the United States.
DHS released the identities of some criminal undocumented migrants who have been arrested and detained in recent weeks. Officials say they're examples of who could end up at Alligator Alcatraz. Santo Villeba Reyes, originally from Venezuela and convicted of homicide. Noel Acosta Moya, also from Venezuela, convicted of kidnapping and sexual assault of a child under the age of 13. And Aldolfo Sanctosoy Rodriguez, originally from Mexico, convicted of child abuse and forcible rape. Alligator Alcatraz will begin accepting and processing migrants on Wednesday, and the state of Florida will be opening a 2,000-bed facility at Fort Blanding.
nuestra, dentro de la nube de un convento. Vean. Encima, ¿no? A ver el resto del cielo. Es el resto del cielo de la nada.
没信号，都没信号，我们也没有信号。你命大啊，兄弟啊，这个危险啊，只能要等消防来了。没信号，都没信號啊！啊，唔係有報噶，唔係。那有個小車，那邊有2個小車啊。